Okay, so promoting and enforcing rights in Australia. So there are 3 ways international human rights is incorporated into Australian domestic law. We have statute, common law, and the Constitution. Firstly, the Constitution was created in 1901 at Federation. The Constitution set out what Australian government was going to look like and how we would operate as a newly federated sovereign nation state. It introduced 2 fundamental concepts, the division of powers and the separation of powers. Now, the division of powers basically separated federal, state, and local councils and the different areas of law that they oversee and are responsible for, okay? This was good because it frees up the time of the federal government, so the federal government doesn't have to overlook everything, even things like, bin collection. That's more the responsibility of local council. So then federal governments can refer to and look at more important things like taxation, like immigration, those kinds of things. It also ensures considered and more effective responses to the needs of the unique locality. Okay, maybe we need certain roads to be fixed in certain suburbs, and that will be, you'll need to really listen to the local residents there, whereas the federal government may not be as in touch or aware of these issues. Okay, the separation of powers is our strongest defense to efforts made inside the government to take and control and degrade human rights or civil liberties in Australia. Okay, why? Because the legislature, right, which is the parliament, judiciary is obviously judges, common law, the executive are the ones that enforce the law, so the police, the military, the army, those kinds of groups. Let's say the legislature, the parliament, makes a really terrible piece of legislation and passes it, enacts it, that allows people to breach each other's human rights. The judiciary can come out and say, hold on a second, no, that's not right. We need to fix that, okay? And kind of critique the legislature because it's separate. It's a separate body. Whereas if they're together, they're kind of going to agree on the same thing. So if they mutually make kind of a really bad decision, or they pass a bad law or pass down a bad precedent, there's no one that's going to critique it. Okay, so having the separation of the powers allows the judge to come out and critique parliament to critique judiciary, police to critique judge. You can see how it's going. Okay, this is the main principle of democracy. It's really, really important. Okay, the Constitution also contains 3 express protections for human rights. So the right to trial by jury, freedom of religion, and the right to property. That right to property basically says that the government can't just knock on your door and take your land and just say, all right, you have to go live somewhere else now. Freedom of religion is that you can practice any religion that you would like without prosecution or persecution, and the right to trial by jury. Okay, those are the express rights. The Constitution literally states that you have those rights. The High Court has also found that implied rights exist in the Constitution. Okay, implied rights are not express rights, they're not written, but they're implied, they can be inferred. So the right to vote is an implied right. Freedom of political communication also is an implied right.